Meloni and the test of European unity. Can the EU stand together amid Trump's tariff storm? Welcome to Western Relations. In this narrated article, we delve into the brewing economic clash between the United States and the European Union, and the cracks forming within Europe itself. The Transatlantic alliance is facing a new trial. President Donald Trump, freshly returned to office in January 2025, has reimposed his signature brand of trade nationalism. This time, through sweeping tariffs on a host of countries, he accuses of ripping off the United States. Among those caught in the crosshairs, the European Union. Trump is slapping a 20% tariff on European exports to America. He claims it's merely a response to Europe's own alleged 39% average tariffs on US goods. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, was among the first to respond. She called Trump's move a mistake, but stopped short of labeling it a catastrophe. Her message? Europe must avoid escalating the situation and instead work toward dismantling trade barriers altogether. But not all EU leaders share Meloni's calm. France's finance minister has hinted at retaliatory tariffs. Northern European countries have floated the idea of taking Trump's measures to the World Trade Organization. The divide is clear. Some want dialogue, others demand confrontation. This disagreement reveals the EU's internal struggle. Should it maintain diplomacy or push back with strength? It's not just about tariffs. It's about sovereignty, economic identity, and the future of globalization. In a long, impromptu speech, President Trump unveiled what he calls reciprocal tariffs. If a country charges the US high duties, the US will now charge back at roughly half that rate. He cited country after country, China at 34%, Vietnam at 46%, India at 26%, the EU at 20%, and so on. Trump called this payback for decades of unfair trade deals. He said, quote, "We never charged anybody anything. Now we're going to charge." And his base is listening. China and India were expected targets, but the inclusion of Europe, a longtime ally, was shocking to many. Trump labeled the EU as tough and ripping us off. Despite shared democratic values and decades of cooperation, Europe is being treated as an adversary. Meloni's calm tone, measured and strategic, reflects how delicate the EU's position is. Losing access to the US market could be catastrophic, but retaliation risks a full-blown trade war, and in that war, no one wins. The internal fractures in the EU are now exposed. Meloni's Italy and some Eastern European states lean toward diplomacy and pragmatism. France and several Nordic countries prefer stronger, more direct action. This isn't just a policy debate, it's a philosophical one. Should Europe seek compromise with Washington or show its strength? Meloni's call for dialogue may appeal to smaller states wary of global shocks, but hawkish voices in Paris and The Hague may see it as weakness. The coming months will test the EU's ability to unite behind a single strategy or risk division. Trump also announced over $6 trillion in corporate investments, attributing them to his election and new tariff regime. Companies like Apple, Meta, Oracle, TSMC, and Nvidia are, according to him, bringing industry back to American soil. Europe faces a choice: match this wave of reindustrialization or fall behind. With initiatives like the European Chips Act and Green Deal Industrial Plan, the EU is trying. But political fragmentation and funding gaps remain barriers. If there's a silver lining, it's this. The crisis underscores Europe's urgent need for strategic autonomy. That means standing on its own feet, economically, technologically, geopolitically. French President Emmanuel Macron has long pushed for this. Now, Meloni appears to be aligning with that vision, calling for negotiation, but not dependency. Europe can no longer rely on multilateral institutions like the WTO, especially when the US discredits them. It must speak with one voice, or risk irrelevance. Paradoxically, Trump's aggressive approach may push the EU toward greater independence. The bloc may now prioritize diversifying trade partners, strengthening its internal market, investing in green and digital innovation, repatriating key industries by staying true to its values. Sustainability, regulation, fairness. Europe could emerge stronger in a protectionist world. Trump's new tariff doctrine is more than just economic policy. It's a challenge to the liberal order Europe helped build. But it also offers clarity. It forces Europe to define who it is and what it stands for. Giorgia Meloni's voice of caution might be the beginning of a smarter, more unified European response. The world is watching. Will Europe rise to speak as one or fracture into many? Thank you for listening to Western Relations. To read the full article and more geopolitical analysis, visit westernrelations.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.